Hello everybody, I am Dr. Mukesh Pareek and I welcome you all to my YouTube channel English for Net JRF by Mukesh Pareek. Uh, in this time of Corona quarantine period, I decided to make so many videos for my YouTube channel so that it can benefit students. Today I am ready with first six sonnets of Shakespeare. We all know that Shakespeare has written a complete collection of 154 sonnets, and in our net exam we quite often see, sometimes they ask us the question like how many sonnets he wrote. Sometimes they ask us like what was the rhyme scheme of Shakespearean sonnet. Sometimes they ask a particular line from Shakespeare's sonnets. And I understand the importance of the sonnet as a literary form of poetry. But the most important part is that I would also like that my viewers, my students, get to know more about the kind of metaphors, the kind of classical element, the element of homosexuality, the element of uh, beauty of language as such, the aestheticism involved, and the extended metaphors at times, the rhyme scheme, the use of the words, the literary terms. So then I decided like I should give a lecture on, or if you don't consider it a lecture, then you can consider it a recitation of his sonnets. So without wasting much time, let me first of all tell you that Shakespeare's 154 sonnets have been mostly divided into three sections, and 1 to 17 number sonnets are called procreation sonnets, in which he is asking his patrons. Actually, it is a mystery yet to be solved or resolved, that who he was, because it is said that the fair youth he has talked about in his sonnets is that identity is not clear so far. So the fair youth can be William Herbert also. He can be Henry Wriothesley also. So the identity of the fair youth is not known, though there are two leading candidates who are also considered the WH in the inverted commas mentioned in the dedication of the 1609 quarto. Quarto means a small version of book form. First was Henry Wriothesley, third Earl of Southampton, uh, or William Herbert, third Earl of Pembroke. Both were patrons of Shakespeare, but at different times. Uh, Wriothesley in the 1519s and Herbert in the 1660s. So there comes the concept of ambiguity, that whom he has dedicated these poems, or who is that fair youth he is talking about, because the poems were published in 1609. So both the patrons can be considered of equal importance. Though the idea that the fair youth and the WH are the same person has often been doubted. Some critics don't agree that he must be the same WH who has been talked about in the poems in the name of fair youth. Okay. So without wasting much time, let me read the first sonnet for you. During my classes, when I teach, sometimes for the introductory lecture, whenever I teach my students, I find that they are less aware about the sonnets by Shakespeare. One or two sonnets, or sometimes three sonnets, which are mostly prescribed for their syllabus. They just know about these sonnets. Apart from that, they are less aware about the other sonnets. So in this video, or in the subsequent videos, I'll be trying to read in front of you all the major sonnets of Shakespeare. Uh, Sonnet number 1. From fairest creatures with desire increase, that thereby beauty's rose might never die. Sometimes I ask my students in class, like, what is its meaning? So sometimes, most of the time, students are unable to give me the answer. Let me explain, every two lines in sequence. From fairest creatures with desire increase. From fairest creatures here means beautiful people. And we desire from them that they increase, means they produce their children. That thereby beauty's rose might never die. So that beauty's rose might never die means beauty's rose goes further, increases, because when a, a fair youth or a beautiful person marries, then he will produce children. So that the beauty, because that person will become old and die, but that beauty can be uh, can move further. But as the riper should be by time decease, his tender air might bear his memory. This is a simple line. These two lines are simple. As the riper should by time decease. Riper mean to say someone who gets ripe, means in age. One day he will die. His tender heir, my tender heir means his next generation, his son or his daughter, might bear his memory. Might bear his memory mean to say, when he will die, his children will keep his memory alive. But thou contracted to thine own bright eyes. It's a beautiful line where he says that if you are contracted to thy own eyes, it means to say that when you look in mirror and you just see your beauty, and your whole the concept of beauty just remains to yourself only. Feedest thy light's flame with self-substantial fuel. Feedest, you feed yourself with self-substantial fuel, mean to say you use your beauty yourself, means when you look into the mirror and you become happy that you are beautiful, but then the world ahead, or the coming people, will not get this beauty. It means in one or the other ways praising the beauty of the patron whomsoever he is writing this sonnet. And the tone of the sonnet is suggestive that you should marry now, you should produce children. Now, there are two elements which I would like to talk, that people consider that, Shakespeare had homosexual tendencies. Okay, because he's praising the beauty of a young man. So people can consider it like, a man is praising the beauty of a man. But then somewhere he's asking him to marry, and he can produce children by marrying only a woman. So I don't consider that this is called homoeroticism. Actually, it may be like, he praises that person, and he's asking him to marry. In India, in Hinduism particularly, we have different kinds of debts, uh, like the debt of a teacher, the debt of a father, the debt of this mother earth. We call them rin. So without marriage, if you don't marry, if you don't produce children, then you are suffering from the pitri rin. Pitri rin means you have a rin of, you have a debt of your father on you. And if you die without, uh, setting the account by, like, you were produced by your father, so you should produce, and then, you should continue this chain. So I consider that, I'm giving a color of Indian, and because I'm an Indian, a Hindu, and reading this sonnet, so I cannot read this sonnet without giving my own understanding of this poem, like, of this sonnet, like where writer wants to say what. And I think if we don't compare it with the other religions and other countries of the other world, somewhere I think throughout the world these were the tendencies, that you should marry, you should have children. These were some compulsions. Okay, social compulsions, I would say. So I come back to the line, making a famine where abundance lies. Now there is a paradox in this poem, in this line. Making a famine means dearth, akal, where abundance lies. Abundance means something where there is something in more quantity. So you are capable, you can marry, you can produce children, you are beautiful, you are handsome, but then you're creating a famine in the sense that you are not producing children by marrying. It means there will be no more beautiful people in the world, and then there will be a famine. Making a famine where abundance lies, thyself thy foe. Foe means enemy. You are your own enemy, to thy sweet self too cruel, and to yourself you are cruel, because if you produce children you will be happy, and if you are not producing children then you are cruel to yourself. Now there is a hidden which we say, there is an idiom in English, like to read between the lines. The connotative meaning of this line is that you are not enjoying sex. Okay, that is why also, like, you are cruel to yourself. Thou that art now the world's fresh ornament. Now he's praising his beauty. He says that you are world's fresh ornament, and only herald to the gaudy spring. You are the herald. Herald means harbinger, someone who gives prior information to the gaudy. Gaudy means beautiful. Spring. Spring has a metaphorical meaning over here. Spring means beauty. Spring means youth, because he considers that, his patron is beautiful, and if he produces children then there will be more children of equal beauty as he has. So then there will be more flowers. So somewhere the children are considered to be, or they have been linked with flowers. So we can say that the poem is very aptly using the term spring here. Within thine own bud buriest thy content. The beautiful line. Within thine own bud, the poet says that you are a bud. You have not completely become, you have not blossomed yet. Okay, and buriest thy content. But if you don't blossoms, if you don't blossom, if you don't give your aroma, your beautiful smell to the world, then it means there is no use of this bud. And then he says, the tender churl mak'st waste in niggarding. Now here he's using the terminology of merchants, where he says that niggarding. Niggarding means someone who is miser. Like, if you are, why are you becoming a miser? Why are you not giving your beautiful youth to somebody? It means, why are you not marrying? Why are you not enjoying the sexual pleasure which can produce children? Pity the world. And then he comes to this direct language. Pity the world, or else this glutton be. Glutton means someone who is self-centeredly eating for himself only. It means you are consuming your youth to yourself only, to eat the world's due. Your beauty is not for yourself, your beauty is for the world. So if you don't produce children, you won't be able to give which is the due of the world. It means beauty is not for yourself, your handsomeness is for the world. By the grave and thee, to eat the world's due by the grave and thee. It means either, it's a kind of blackmailing. He says that your grave will eat your due. If you don't give it to the world, your grave will eat the dew. So friends, it almost took 14 minutes to explain a particular sonnet. And the rhyme scheme of this sonnet is, I'm reading the last words. Increase, last words of every line. Increase, die. Decrease, memori. Here I would like to add something, that if you read it memory, then you will find that there is a problem in the rhyme scheme. So this is called when if we want to set the music of the poem, and the pronunciation of the word does not fit into the usual category, then we call it I rhyme. Because the memory's real pronunciation is memory, but because the word in the second line, at the end of the second line, is die, so we should pronounce it memori. So increase, die, decease, memori. Eyes, fuel, lies, cruel. Now fuel sets with cruel. Ornament, spring, content, niggarding. Spring, niggarding, content, be thee. And the poem is written in iambic pentameter. What is iambic pentameter? Penta means five, meter means the arrangement of the syllables, like say unstressed and stressed syllables. So from fairest, from when we speak, we Indians mostly don't follow the accent and the syllable pattern of the English people. So sometimes we are very confused when some teacher teaches us, but I simply try to make it simple for you. From freer, from, when we speak from, we don't stress f, we don't say from, we simply say from. But fairest, when we pronounce fairest, we stress f, the first sound. So from fairest creature, creature is stressed c. So from fairest creature we desire increase. So increase, in the word increase there are two syllables. We don't stress in, but we stress c. So if you find there is a musicality. Iambic pentameter. Iambic is blank verse. Blank verse mean to say, as such it is considered to be very very much close to the spoken English. There every language has a rhythm. For example, if you talk in your own language, in your own mother tongue, he might be a regular speaker of Marwadi, regular speaker of Bengali, regular speaker of Haryanvi. So you will find that they have their own music of that language. So if we go to the actual accent patterns of English, you'll find that the people will be pronouncing this way, and they will find that they don't have to put a particular meter. What their spoken English is, it is very much near to their spoken English. That is why it is called blank verse. So blank verse is iambic pentameter. Iamb means the combination of unstressed and stressed. From fairest creatures with desire increase, that thereby beauty's rose might never die, but as the riper should by time decease, his tender heir might bear his memory. But thou, contracted to thine own bright eyes, feedest thy light's flame with self-substantial fuel, making a famine where abundance lies, thyself thy foe to thy sweet self too cruel. Thou that art now the world's fresh ornament, and only herald to thy gaudy spring, within thine own bud buriest thy content, and tender churl makest waste in niggarding. Pity the world, or else this glutton be, to eat the world's due by the grave and thee. Thank you, dear friends.